Okay, so there's the leadership team. Jason and Chris are incumbents. Devesh and Charles are incumbents, and an awesome job. Alessio from Redalit couldn't be with us, and he's new to the LSO. He brings sort of a business background to that, which is cool. Same with Patrick, very much an operational and business background, new as well. Mihal's done a fantastic job of guiding the work last year. It's been a year now, right? Approximately. Little more than a year. Awesome job. And of course, Karthik was the LSO chair, and his role changed as he moved to Tata. So now he's moved into the CBC. April was a big contributor to the CBC last year, and we're thrilled that she's stepped up as a chair. So it's a lot of work. They dedicate a lot of time, and we're thrilled to have them. So we're just going to hear a little bit about what the committees are up to. And as I mentioned, I took out some of the detail there. I hope you don't mind, right?
No, that's fine.
They were a little busy for late in the day. So anyway, over to you.
Okay. I'm April Taylor. I am a Senior Vice President of Blockchain for Sage Management. I appreciate the opportunity to be a co-chair on this committee. There's a lot of really exciting work being done in the CBC right now around product modeling and LSO blockchain. So we will have sessions this week on product modeling for internet access, as well as synchronized billing and settlement, inventory, SLAs, smart contract development, and then also a zero knowledge operating environment for those smart contracts to be deployed on. So a lot of really exciting stuff. We'd love for you guys to check out the agenda and come join us for a session and get an update on all the projects that we've been working on, and then also give us your feedback. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah, just thank you. Just a comment on the CBC. I think it's a real good success story. We started it about 3 years ago now, and it was really to find, we had committees like LSOC and DSC, they're very technical in nature. We wanted a better home for business-oriented folks, commercial folks, product types, with the view that bring the requirements of the different types of requirements to the table, and ultimately maybe drive work into the other committees. And in fact, I think the CBC is going to start building some of their own standards this year too. So it's had, and thanks to Daniel, by the way, who's been the sort of staff point person. He's the incubator. He's been the incubator of a lot of things here over the years, and this was another successful one. But I think what we've seen in some of the recent meetings, it's been the room is packed with the CBC when they're running their show. So great job, and we look forward to you guys doing the same this year and more. And next we have the DSC. Oops, there's a typo there. There's a little thing missing, but sorry about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. So I'm Jason Wolf at Bell Canada. I'm a senior network architect there. I develop architectures for business services, which coincidentally is also what Digital Services Committee does. They're the kinds of business services that companies like mine and Verizon and AT&T and others sell to our enterprise and wholesale customers. And we develop those standards by establishing a common language and a common set of expectations so that all the parties involved, the buyers, the sellers, the software and hardware vendors, they all have the same common understanding. In my mind, I tend to group the work into two streams. The first one being cybersecurity and other overlay services. That's things like SASE and SD-WAN. That's the growth area. That's the focus right now. That's what most of the lion's share of the work is concentrated on. But our traditional services, the underlay connectivity services, things like Carrier Ethernet, we're still working on those. We're maintaining them. We're doing surgical enhancements to them, but nothing major. Our outputs are paper standards, and they typically serve as an input to the other committees. So we'll develop a service standard. Our colleagues in LSO committee will then develop info models, data models, APIs to automate the order to cash processes for that service. Test and certification committee will develop a certification suite for that service. I put the word typically in here because we're actually seeing it come the other way now as well, where LSO or test and certification committees might actually suggest improvements or suggest that we fill certain gaps. And so we're actually getting it full circle now. For our fiscal year 2024, really the emphasis, as mentioned before, is on the cybersecurity. We are approving, hopefully tomorrow, 2 new projects. One is to enhance our SASE service standard, and the second one to improve our zero trust framework. Pascal mentioned earlier, ideally we'd like to have a third one, an SSE standard definition. We need a few more people to step forward and help us get that one off the ground. If you have any interest in any of that work, SASE, Zero Trust, anything on this slide, please reach out, dsc@mef.net, or come find us on a break.
And Pascal had some slides earlier which showed the sort of cumulative output of this committee and the predecessors to this committee, the Services Committee and the Technical Committee. So, you know, north of 100 standards, I guess, have come through. I don't know what the exact number is.
If you include all the dot revisions, it's probably a lot more than that.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. All right, great stuff, thank you. LSOC, so Michał.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michał Łączyński. I'm a senior architect in Martus. We are a MEF solution provider and also the MEF OIT provider. And I'm also the developer community manager at MEF. So Jason already told about the closed loop between our committees, how we work. We have just made the Fergie release like 3 weeks ago. So there are not that much editing sessions at this meeting because most of the deliverables are at their finished state. And what are the areas in the coming year? So for the business, I'd like to highlight the business APIs. That this is the first release. We have provided all of the business APIs suite. We have the product catalog, we have the menu-driven APIs. Of course, we will measure them, but we have the full coverage of the APIs. So this is a very groundbreaking release from this point of view. When it comes to the operational APIs, in the next year we have still 3 APIs for threshold crossing alerts, fault management, service function testing to fulfill the APIs that we have in our pipeline. And there are a couple of revisions for some requirements and for service order and service inventory. We are revising, we are tuning, we are putting more business insight into that. So that is things to come. And of course, we will do our work to deliver the Grace release by the end of the year and the Haley release half of the next year. And as usual, I have the very, very big ask for you. So we are seeing the growing adoption of our APIs and our assets. Please, if you have any questions, any feedback from your work in the field in implementation of these, give us the feedback so that we can have also the closed loop with the people in the front line using our assets. If there is something we can tune, if you have any use cases or you have any questions or things that can be done better, please go back to us, catch us, reach us anyhow. Thank you.
You know, and LSOC's a great example as to how we had to evolve our kind of operational model, right? If you think about the paper standards, like coming out of DSE, they can often, you know, suffer delays for one reason or another, you know, all sorts of different reasons. But, you know, LSOC stepped up and said, we're going to support a fixed cadence of 6 months for these releases, and had to, you know, develop the processes and the plans to make that happen. And not have a subsequent release, which is, you know, essentially the same as the previous one, right? So there's always material upgrades to all these releases, number one. Number two, the quality feedback we got has been second to none. So that's been a process over the years, right? And there's been a lot of people that have made, you know, provided input into that happening. So kudos to you guys and look forward to another great year. You know, the TCC was sort of rebooted, right? Charles and Devesh, where there he is. You know, it was just a kind of a casual committee which lacked some structure, as we weren't doing a lot of new certifications maybe a number of years ago, and we gradually turned it into a much more structured functioning committee with, again, more predictable outputs and quality outputs as well. So I'll let you, I won't steal any more of your thunder. I'll let you actually talk about the slide.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So I'm Charles Eckel. I work at Cisco, and I'm one of the co-chairs, as you heard, of the Test and Certification Committee. Devesh and I both are thankful that we get to continue to work with each other and to serve as the co-chairs of this committee for another year. So it's actually really appropriate that we're talking about the TCC last, because as you heard, we take the output of DSC and of LSOC and we provide the certification around those network services and the APIs. And so we also provide professional certification that individuals have a mastery of the material. For this year, though, our main focus is really on the first part, the certification of the network services and APIs. And so you've heard a lot about the SASE certification. That's one of our big focus areas. And as you've heard, the components of SASE include SD-WAN and SSE and Zero Trust. So a lot of work happening on that. Then LSO API certification, we actually we've had this for a little while, but maybe we're a little bit early, perhaps even in trying to launch that. As you heard, we now have really a full set of the business APIs. And as a result of these frequent releases, we've reached the point where they're really becoming more stable. And so we believe now is a really good time to rethink, okay, how do we really think this LSO API certification should work? And to come out with sort of a rescoped version of that is just brings a lot more value. So that's another big focus area. Around LSO APIs, we've had really good early traction and continue to have success with this OIT platform, the onboarding and interop testing. And we see that continuing to be a really important thing for us. And so enhancing that such that it complements what we're doing with certification is the third big thing. And then specifically at this meeting, fortunately, what we're trying to do at this meeting aligns pretty well with our goals for the year. So we're having editing sessions. We've already had 2, and we have one more editing session around the SASE test specifications. And the test specifications are just one important part of certification. You also need a lot of supporting collateral in order to provide a successful certification program. And that's another important thing that this committee works closely with Kevin and others in the MEF leadership team and with our partners to provide the supporting thing of how does the certification work? What's the pricing? What's the rules around it? The marketing aspect of it. So we'll be working on that. That's the supporting collateral. And then, as I mentioned, we're rescoping the LSO API certification. And so we're going to have some important discussions at this meeting where we really chart out the roadmap there and address some gaps that we've identified. And love to have more participation in the TCC. That's a big part of why, as Kevin mentioned, we're trying to be more formal and just more transparent in what we're doing, because that makes it a lot easier for us to interact with the other committees and with all of you too. So hopefully you can join some of our sessions.
Maybe what we should do next time is have a slide showing the partners, IOmetrics for Carrier Ethernet and LSO APIs, Martis for the OIT, and then Cyber Ratings for the SASE, so people know. And that the committee is where those partners glue in addition with the staff as well. All right, well, thank you, and have a great week, and hopefully it's productive.